Hey guys, Todd from COSN coming at you again today. Hey, today I want to talk to you about the engine I'm putting in the BOV Blazer build, and also 3 reasons why I went with this engine. So stay tuned. Alright guys, so let's get into the engine. I'm not going to go into too many crazy details. I'm just going to kind of do an overview of the engine. So basically, this is a 383 stroker motor, full roller. So full roller just means that it's got a roller cam, roller rockers, and it's got a 670 Holley carburetor. Now a 383, basically what a 383 is, and this one is a Chevy 350 that has a modified 400 crank, turning the displacement into a 383, hence the name 383. And then they call it a stroker. Now there's different types of 383s out there. That's this type of 383, and just kind of give a basic overview of that. Horsepower versus fuel. Now I didn't build a super extreme 383. I mean, the sky's the limits when you start talking about a 383. This one is a mild build with the 906 compression. What that basically means is I can run regular fuel, and I needed that to be part of the BOV. I didn't want to go to running high octane only, because that would basically defeat the purpose of putting this in a BOV, because you can't find high octane in an SHTS situation. Of course, that's totally hypothetical, but we'll get down into that, into my reasoning. Now this one, like I said, is a mild build. It does have 381 horsepower. It also has 430 foot-pounds of torque, and this actually will spin it up quickly. That's why I went with the 383. 3,200 RPMs. It's producing about 420 foot-pounds of torque already. Okay, so that's why I went with this. You know, turn them 37s, and it spins up rather quickly. So I had this, I wanted to save myself some time. I did have this built. I had it built by a company out of Washington, StrokerMotors.com. We'll put the link down in the description block. No, they're not giving me kickback or anything, but I do want to mention them because they are amazing to work with. The older gentleman there knows more about engines than I will ever know, and he had 4 different recipes for 4-wheel drives that he had on hand. I picked one of the ones I wanted. I didn't want to go too extreme, like I said. He built it out. I mean, he had it back to me in about 3-4 weeks, and I had the engine. Now, they also dyno the engine, so I have all the specs, the dyno, everything on it. I have the electrical, everything's on this. This is turnkey and ready to go. It's also broke in, so they put it on an engine stand and they actually break it in, and basically you can put it in, he said, drive it like you stole it. So he stands by it 100%. He also has it, since I didn't go to a performance engine, which is 10-to-1 or higher compression, he actually is giving me a 2-year, 30,000 mile warranty on this, which is amazing. I mean, that's awesome on a stroker motor, getting a 2-year warranty. I, of course, need to get it in the BOV, which is coming really soon. But he gave us a warranty on it. That's amazing. Like I said, on a 383 stroker, and it's all broke in. It's ready to go, turnkey. Now, I know you guys are probably thinking, you know, 383, you know, in a BOV, it's kind of like, you know, fuel. It's going to suck a lot of fuel. It's going to take some fuel. Obviously, it's going to take some fuel. You know, we go back to horsepower versus, you know, fuel. So, and I know you guys are out there, you know, in the BOV world, or the prepping world, you know, diesels and smaller diesels, 4-cylinder diesels, the Cummins diesel, which is an excellent engine. I've actually got a diesel myself, which is part of the emergency plan, and this also fits into the emergency plan, which we're going to talk about. The 3 reasons for taking a 383 stroker. Now, the very first reason is basically low tech and availability of parts. So low tech meaning that I didn't go with fuel injection because I didn't want to deal with an ECU. That's the computer that controls the fuel injection. Back to another hypothetical situation, if you had an EMP or something like that, you know, it can knock out your electronics. Of course, we haven't had one that's been that extreme, but like I said, another hypothetical situation for a BOV. I actually have a ferrule cage underneath the hood that holds an extra distributor, spark plugs, all my electrical, so that if something did happen, I could put it all back together and go back down the road. Now, you're right, I might be the only one on the road, so I better go fast. But that was the reasoning behind going with low tech instead of fuel injection. I know some of you 4-wheel drive guys are going, oh my God, you know, fuel injection is awesome. And you're right, fuel injection is awesome in a 4-wheel drive situation. Carburation isn't bad. It's just you have to make sure you set it up correctly to go into higher elevations when you're going up hills and things so your carburetor doesn't cut out. But that's for a later video. Reason number 2, power versus fuel. I talked about that a little bit earlier. Let's go into it a little more in depth. Now, I know this is going to take gas, you know, or fuel. It's a 670 carburetor. I can run regular, and it's going to take some fuel. You know, that's just the way it is. And we'll go into my emergency plan on how this vehicle fits in reason number 3. But this is reason number 2 is I actually have 15 extra gallons on the vehicle, and I also created, as you can see here, this is a refuel kit. And I made this refuel kit so that you can refuel on the move, and it's mobile, or you can go out and you can acquire fuel with this kit. It's rechargeable, and I'm gonna do a later video on this down the road. And I also did extensive studying on basically anti-theft devices on the newer vehicles so that I can siphon the anti-siphon devices that are in the fuel spouts of newer vehicles. Now, I don't know if I'll go into an in-depth video on that because I don't want it used in the wrong you know, text or somebody taking it and actually going out and doing theft. I might get into it a little bit, but not too in-depth. But I will go over the refuel kit. The refuel kit is a great design for this vehicle because I know it's going to take fuel, and if I have to, I know I can acquire fuel. So that's my reason number 2 is my power versus fuel. I wanted the power, and I had to sacrifice fuel. That's just the way it is. Or I could have went with the, you know, like a lot of guys go with the diesel, things like that. But I wanted the 383 Stroker for the horsepower and torque. Now, that also goes into my emergency plan, which brings me to the reason number 3. Now, basically, there's two looks at a BOV, you know, a bug out vehicle. You got the gray man vehicle, or you got the hardened vehicle that's rolling. A lot of people, you know, fall into that gray man, you know, hide your vehicle type deals. I fall into both, you know, and I'm not going to go into super detail in my emergency plan because I don't want to give it away and talk about things that, you know, people shouldn't know anyway. I might go into depth, but not in depth on my specific emergency plan. So basically, in this area where I live, there's a lot of 4-wheel drive vehicles, tons of 4-wheel drive vehicles actually. Some extreme, some not extreme. So this vehicle won't stand out that much, but it will after I get done with the exoskeleton, and I want it to stand out. Now I know this is going to sound a little bit corny. Some of you guys might not be old enough to remember the movie Smokey and the Bandit. But in my emergency plan, it's actually the paradox of the gray man. Is basically I want to draw attention to this vehicle, and it's going to run interference for my convoy that's headed to the bug out location. That is the purpose of this vehicle. Once it gets there, it's going to be an extreme patrol vehicle. So this vehicle has way more capabilities than any of my other vehicles are going to have, to include communications, camouflage, charging its own systems. I mean, this vehicle is going to be set up. And you might also be thinking, well, you know, you've got a very loud engine, and you are correct. And I know you guys are probably going to love this, but so this is a very loud engine. What I'm doing with the exhaust is I'm coming back to Flowmasters, doing electronic cutoffs, and the electronic cutoffs will cut off the performance side of the house, which are the Flowmasters. It'll come back and it'll come up the rear, and it'll actually have large stacks on the back that will quiet it down, will quiet this engine down without causing too much back pressure and losing horsepower, and it'll come out the top and out instead of on the ground where it's actually vibrating the ground. So it'll actually come up high, out, and go through 2 sets of mufflers before it comes out, and you can switch it on the fly. So that's going to be a great video. We'll get into that later and show you that. But you know, going back to the emergency plan, you know, I know this is a total hypothetical situation. I mean, we actually have a lot of things on the West Coast to worry about. Well, one big thing, you know, like the Cascadia earthquake, and that will pretty much devastate the entire West Coast. And you know, I might get sucked into the emergency management deal because that's kind of what I do, single resource and multiple resource. But as far as the emergency plan and bugging out, you know, you got to think about the survival arc and doing all this stuff and thinking about stuff. And if it never happens, great. But the more you think about it, the quicker you go through the survival arc, you know, and I'll do another video on the survival arc. I don't want to get too far in depth, but basically, a lot of people, and it's been written, it's in a lot of research, you go into denial. A lot of people just hit straight denial. And then you go to deliberation, then you go to action. And the faster you can go from denial to action, the better chances you have to live. So the more you think about survival situations, prepping situations, preparing your family, preparing just in case if there's a disaster, the more you get that mindset, the quicker you go and you move to action. A lot of people get stuck in denial, and that's where they die. So if you get going, and this applies to so many different things, in a survival situation, it's the same thing, is you got to get out of denial, you got to get to deliberation, figuring out actions, and taking those actions. But anyway, that's for a different video. I really appreciate you guys watching. Down in the description box, and this is my personal opinion, this is my preferences, this is what I'm doing, but I love hearing from you guys. This community is great. If you have other suggestions or things you'd like to add, put it down in the description block. I love hearing new ideas, or things I don't know about, websites, go ahead and put it down in the description block. I'd love to hear about it, and I really appreciate all you guys watching, all your support, and everything you guys do for me. So hey, thank you, and if you get a chance, check out the other episodes on the BOV, and there'll be more to come. Thanks a lot, guys.